House Democrats will try to force a vote on the debt ceiling. The government may not be able to pay its bills as soon as June 1st. If Congress doesn't allow the U.S. to borrow more money, it would cause economic catastrophe. Republicans want a debt limit increase tied to spending cuts. Democrats want to raise the debt ceiling, but without conditions, the same way that Congress did under President Donald Trump. The man accused of killing 5 neighbors in Texas was caught last night. The suspect was hiding in a house less than 20 miles from Cleveland, where the shooting happened on Friday. The family said deputies were slow to respond, and there were other early missteps in the investigation, like the misspelling of the suspect's name. Well, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates for the 10th time in just over a year and signaled that it will stop hoisting borrowing costs as the economy slows and fears of a recession grow. The Fed's latest move, announced at the end of its 2-day policy meeting, brings the central bank's benchmark interest rate to a level between 5 and 5.25%, the highest level in 16 years. Saturday Night Live and other late night shows have gone dark. It's the most immediate effect of the Hollywood writers' strike, which started yesterday. Writers are striking over pay, which they say has gotten worse in the streaming era, and other issues, including the use of AI to write scripts. Last month, Fox executives reviewed a text message that Tucker Carlson sent to his producers in early 2021. In the message, he described himself watching a video of Trump supporters beating up someone he referred to as, quote, an Antifa kid, end quote. Carlson wrote of his conflicting emotions, hinting that he had found himself rooting for the mob, hoping they would kill the man, and then asserted that jumping a guy like that is dishonorable because it's not how white men fight. Well, Fox became alarmed by this text message and was going to hire a law firm to investigate Carlson's behavior. And as they say in Hollywood, the rest is history. Representative Colin Allred, a Democrat from Texas, will challenge Senator Ted Cruz for his Senate seat in 2024. In a video posted to social media, Allred showed footage from the January 6th insurrection in which a pro-Trump mob overran the Capitol. On that day, Allred said he texted his wife to say, "Whatever happens, I love you." He slammed Cruz for voting against the certification of election results that day and for hiding in a storage closet during the attack. Ben Vinson III, provost at Case Western University and former administrator to universities in D.C., was announced as Howard University's 18th president. Now, this is the 18th president since the founding of the university after the Civil War. President Vinson will take the helm on September 1st after current President Wayne Frederick steps down. The new president will face many challenges, including securing $250 million in appropriations from Congress each year and addressing its male student shortage. 70% of Howard's 9,800 undergraduates were women. Well, prosecutors are nearing a decision on whether to charge President Biden's son, Hunter, with tax and gun-related violations. According to people familiar with the matter, the culmination of a 4-year investigation that Republicans have sought to portray as evidence that the Biden family is corrupt. You are watching and listening to Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. This is hour 2, and in this hour, we're going deep on this deeply disturbing issue of Black children, and I mean infants and babies being ripped away from their parents and placed into foster care. We're going to look at a story that happened in Dallas, Texas, involving a 5-week-old baby that was taken from her home, from her parents, and the fight that her parents had to wage in order to have their child reunited with them. Marsha Jones, the executive director of the AFIYAW Center in Texas, who worked very closely with this family, is here. She's going to help us understand what happened in this case and just generally what is happening with the Department of Children's Services around the country and how Black children are being taken away from their parents. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head. Yeah.
Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
Tell me you're the boy and girl.
I'm young, gifted, and black.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Connection established. Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews.
Follow the leader.
A black couple was reunited with their newborn taken by authorities over medical treatment. Authorities returned baby Mila to Tamesia and Rodney Jackson after nearly a month of protest. Joining me in this hour is Marsha Johnson. She's the executive director of the AFIYAW Center, a Dallas-based reproductive justice organization that advocated for the family. Welcome, Marsha. You and I have been talking about this issue now seems like several years, so I'm so happy to have you on to help us understand what happened to this family. I know you were involved in advocating for them, so tell us how baby Mila was taken from the family and how was she reunited with the family?
Right. So that's Marsha Jones.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And so it seemed that so the way this happened, so baby Mila was born at home with a midwife, and she was about 3 or 4 days old, and there was a little jaundice, which is natural. I mean, you look through anything, jaundice happened. This particular type of jaundice happened. And so Tamesia took Mila to her doctor. He had not literally become Mila's doctor yet because she had not been discharged and she had not had her postpartum meeting with her midwife. But everybody there knew that the baby had jaundice. At some point of seeing the baby, the nurses, the doctor's assistants said, hey, there's a little jaundice. The parents said, so Misia said, yes, we know, but we're treating it according to the way the midwife, by that particular protocol. We're okay with it. We're moving, we're just going to do what we have to do, which is a protocol. And so later on, there was a phone call from the doctor, and he was like, the baby has jaundice, her numbers are too high. You need to take the baby to the hospital. They're like, we're working with our midwife. We'll work with you too, but we're going to work with our midwife. We're willing to, add some of your interventions into what we're doing. So then I guess he calls back over and over again. She's just had a baby. She's asleep. Her husband is doing the stuff that he do. They miss the calls. He then calls and leave a message. I have a bed for the baby at the hospital. If you don't take the baby to the hospital, I'm going to call CPS. Like, that is literally what happened. The family had not did anything to cause something like this, a stir like this to happen. Over the next 24 hours, their home was, they were intruded upon by the DeSoto, Texas Police Department, along with Dallas County Sheriffs. Eventually, her husband, Mr. Jackson, had gone out. Upon returning, she was letting him know, look, they're at our home. He get home. He's wrestled down by police. They then take his keys from him, go and use his house keys to go into their house and take the baby. The problem here is that the documentation did not have.
Wait a minute, Marsha. So the police, hold on a second, Marsha. The police, I guess, get a search warrant or get some legal documentation that gives them the right to enter into the home of this couple. They go in the house, the father's not home, but the mom is home, or the father's, who's home when the police?
Father, when they came, the mother is home, but she didn't let them in, right? And she calls and tells her husband, because he had just gone to walk the dog. And she's like, they're there. And he says, I'm on my way back. And when he get back, he's like letting them know, I'm not going to like let you in my house. They wrestle him down and remove his house keys from his pocket and use those keys to go in the house. When they get there, she's saying, I need to see paperwork. I need to see paperwork. Their response is, give us the baby, we'll give you paperwork. When she get the paperwork, it actually had nothing on it. She went to the nearest police department to report this.
Wait a minute.
I know it sounds wild, but this is
so bizarre. So the husband is outside on the ground.
They've now put him in the police car and taken him away from the house.
Oh, he's gone. So he's
gone now. Like this happened really quick. So he's gone. And after they wrestle him down, take the keys, he's handcuffed, put in the car, gone. Then they come into the house because they have the keys.
Right.
Present some kind of documentation that's really not legal documentation, because as we found out that day, that the documentation did not have that mother nor that father's name on the documentation for this baby.
Okay, so that's some generic documentation. So, it did have a name on it, but not the name of this couple.
Family. It was not this couple. They didn't even know the people that was on the document.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so they weren't even at the right house?
Clearly they were. So clearly, I guess I would say they were at the right house because that's where the doctor sent them. It just wasn't the right name.
Wow.
Like they didn't have any idea who these people were. And I won't call that particular woman's name because that's not fair to her, to keep putting her name out here, because she didn't ask to be in this either. Okay. And so there was another woman's name on there. There was another man's name on there as the father. The family there had no idea who these people were. But now here's the thing, Areva, they didn't learn this until almost the next day. So this woman's baby was gone for a whole day and she did not know where her baby was at.
Okay. I'm just trying to collect. This story is so wild. It's like,
it is really wild. It
happens on TV. So they show her some paperwork and she's like, I'm not Betty. I'm just going, hypothetically, I'm not Betty.
That paperwork didn't even have a name.
Okay, so there's no name. So she
and they
said this is legitimate. But they take the baby out of her arms?
Yes, they get the baby and they leave with the baby. And she's not even sure where they're taking the baby. So
do they tell her, look, we're taking the baby to the police station?
They don't say we're going to CPS. They don't say any of that, but they do. I guess they tell them that CPS, their CPS, or their Dallas County, and they come and get the baby. So she don't know. She go to the DeSoto Police Department, and they're acting like they don't have anything to do with it. At that point, she's calling her midwife also. And so when she called the midwife then called us, the field center. She's calling our doulas or whatever. And so we kind of got in it right there. But in all honesty, Reba, I really thought that baby had been returned because we did the paper. We did the groundwork. We were like, the baby is at CPS. One of our doulas called one of the people that she know that work at CPS. So we're thinking everything is okay. We've not spoken with the midwife anymore. That following Monday, so now the baby's been gone about 5 days.
Wait. What day of the week does this happen on?
They get the baby on a Tuesday. The baby is born on a Thursday.
Okay. And so that
the baby's not even a week old.
Not even a week old.
Not even a week old.
Is the people who take the baby out the house, are they the police department or are they workers from the Child Protective Services? Do you know?
They are workers from Child Protective Services. No, they were Dallas County. They were Dallas County sheriffs.
Oh, sheriff. Okay.
Dallas County sheriff. Right.
Okay.
And so we get a call back. And so I get a call, over the night. There's another young activist here. And he, like, Miss Marsha, there's a thing going on. And as he started to tell the story, I jump up and I said, oh my God, that's the same baby that we were just working with last week. You telling me that baby is not home? He said, no, the baby is not home. And that's where we got all the way involved in it. We called the family to let the family know who we were and that we wanted to work with them to get this baby home and to hold CPS accountable for what they had done. And so that's where the videos, the press conference that people seen, that's probably the statement that you saw, because I really did not. I think you're probably the first person that I have spoken to about it, because I wanted to make sure that this family's story was told and that it was not kind of mixed into the myriad of things that we do here at the AFIYAW Center. And I didn't want it to become an AFIYAW Center story. I wanted people to know that this is happening in CPS way too often. Because if it happened to this family,
right.
This family, if we want to say quote unquote, this is a young Black family who lives in a middle-class Black suburb. I live around the corner from them. Not that I'm saying anything about it, but that's where they live. They're professional people. He's a coach in the community. They had been with this doctor for 12 years with their boys. They did research.
Wait a minute. So the doctor that called them to say we have a bed for the baby, that was not their regular physician, right?
Yes, he was. He had been their children's pediatrician. They have 2 other boys, and he's been their pediatrician for 12 years, so he knows this family.
Wow.
And he knows this family. And so this was just like one of the most horrendous things I've ever seen. And I wish we could find a reason and not speculation, especially on the doctor's behalf, of how this happened. Because even when I repeat this story to people, everybody wants to stop and say, no, wait, no, I'm telling you, this is exactly what happened. She had a baby at home, a VBAC, or she had 2 previous cesareans. She had a baby at home with a midwife that she had did all of the research. She had did her work. The midwife didn't just pop up. They had this midwife since she was 8 weeks gestation. They had worked with her because, of course, she had 2 cesareans. So you want to make sure when you're going to do a vaginal birth after cesarean that everything is right. And so this midwife had worked with this family for 6 months. This was not an overnight thing. This family chose their own birth team. So the birth workers at the AFIYAW Center was not the doulas. This family chose their own birth team, chose their own midwife, had built a relationship with the midwife. They felt safe with the midwife, and it was an amazing birth.
Do you think this could be is this backlash from the healthcare system because they had a baby in their home with a midwife rather than what I'll call more traditional delivery in a hospital with a doctor?
I believe so. I believe that it's larger than I believe it's larger than just this particular baby and this particular midwife. I think that it is absolutely a backlash, and especially against Black birth workers and Black midwives. I don't see this as no different than 40, 50 years ago or more with what happened to granny midwives when we had Black women delivering babies, caring for families, not just their families, but white families included, and white doctors wanted to be able to control that and started to over certify and all of these other things, and over medical, all of these things, medical certifications or whatever, that these Black men, these Black granny midwives did not have, to over time move them out of this work, this work that they had been doing for so long, cultural work. I mean, you can do history on Black granny midwives where there were no deaths, there was no deaths from the mothers, the babies. They were doing exceptional work. And then there was a time that we had no Black midwifery in the Black community. It was gone. And so now, in an effort to save Black lives, Black women who are birthing, because we know what the data looks like for Black women who are birthing, especially in these hospitals, Black midwives, we're coming back, we're reclaiming our right and being part of this birth world so that we can save Black women's lives. And I do think that that's exactly, and that as it relates to the midwife, I do think that that's exactly what happened. As it relates to the baby and the family, I believe it is the same thing that's happening inside of CPS systemically all across, not just Texas, where Black babies are just, they're taken and snatched away from Black families with no due process. With absolutely no due process, because even if they took this baby home because the baby's bilirubin was so high, with the jaundice was in such a bad state, clearly that could not have been that, because from our understanding, the baby did go to the hospital the day that they removed her, but the baby came home the same day. So wait a minute,
the baby, hold on a second, the day the mom...
Not home, the baby went back to Child Protective Service. So when they took the baby, they did take the baby to the hospital to be treated for the jaundice. But if the jaundice was as bad as they said that it was, why did the baby not even stay in the hospital overnight? The baby was immediately released back to Child Protective Services. So that could not have been the reason for taking that baby, because the jaundice clearly was not that severe.
Do you know why the parents, when they went to the doctor with the baby and the doctor called and said, bring the baby to the hospital for the jaundice, do you know why the parents opted not to do that?
It just really was just light. We're talking about a woman who's just three days out of a birth, a long birth, home birth. She's sleeping. She's doing exactly what mothers do after they've delivered. Her husband wasn't at home, and they literally could just miss some phone calls.
Oh, wait a minute, Marsha. So you're saying the family wasn't necessarily adverse to taking the baby back to the hospital. They had not had an opportunity to communicate with the doctor about the need to go back to the hospital.
And when they did talk to the doctor, they were clear, okay, this is what the midwife said we're going to do. And so we will also include what you're saying doing, because she breastfed the baby. He said, well, the baby needs a formula to help build up more bowel. She said, we're willing to do that. They were also willing to, they'd already ordered the stuff like the blanket that you put the baby in with their skin, putting the baby in the sun. So they were willing to, they still wanted to use their midwife's mitigation for this condition, but they were going to work with the doctor. So we didn't necessarily want to give her formula, but we will. We're going to work with you on this, and if it don't clear up, we will bring her in. So this family was never against medical intervention for their baby. They just were going to go with the intervention that their midwife suggested, and the doctor himself said that is like a recommended intervention for jaundice.
So for those people, Marsha, maybe that don't know, so a midwife does more than just help deliver a baby. The midwife is also there after the baby is born to give advice on things that may happen to the baby during the birth process.
Right. And the midwife stays on and provides postpartum care. And the midwife will typically discharge the mom and the baby from postpartum care probably about 3 to 4 days after the baby is born. Just like if you're in a hospital and you're discharged, and then your baby goes to see its pediatrician. The same thing with a midwife. The midwife will stay with the family for 3 or 4 days and then discharge. And after discharge, that family will usually take the baby to their pediatrician or a suggested pediatrician.
Yeah, when we come forward, Marsha, I want to talk about what it took in terms of your advocacy, your organization's advocacy to help get this baby reunited with her mom and her dad, and what's happening all over the country with babies that are taken away, particularly for those families that don't have access to advocates like yourself. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The 3 people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Turkle, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Turkle's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on your unapologetically progressive radio station, KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the time, brothers. This is the time.
We've got something for everybody.
That's right.
Health and healing, history and humor, issues and events, empowerment and entertainment, all in one station.
What's really going on?
Free enterprise, you dig?
KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We got a lot to talk about.
King Kong ain't got on me. Here comes the brand new flavor in your head.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head.
Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
Tell me you're the boy that girl. You are young, gifted, and black.
I'm young, gifted, and black.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation in scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Weekdays, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rep spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on your unapologetically progressive radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580.
This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the time, brothers. This is the
I am back with Marsha Jones. She's the executive director of the AFIYAW Center in Texas. It's a reproductive justice center. She and her organization have been advocates for a family whose baby was taken away over what appears to be just a misunderstanding about the baby's care. Baby was taken and placed in Child Protective Services. So, Marsha, talk to us about what your agency did once you got that phone call from that young activist who said, you know, there's this baby that's been taken from a family and we need your help. How did your agency get involved and what did you do?
So we immediately reached out to the family. Well, we reached out to the midwife because that was our initial contact with the family to let the family know that we were there because, again, we were not familiar with this family prior to. Had this not happened, we would never have come in contact with this family. And so we reached out to the midwife to let her know that, you know, that this information had fallen back into our hands again. Could she connect us with the family, or would the family be willing to talk to us and see, you know, what comes next? And so that's what we did. We called the family, the other young activists who, this picture here is that original that's the original press conference. And once we got with the family, they were just so happy, that relieved that somebody was going to hear them because they were literally at their wits' end. And so we started to do what we do as advocates. At the same time, we were collecting information and data from them, information from them. We were on the phone, we were making phone calls, we were talking to our legislators. You know, when you're advocates, we all have that one legislator that's our friend, you know, that we can pick up the call. Here in Dallas, for us, is Representative Tony Rose. Even though this was not in Representative Rose's district, I immediately called her because I didn't know what else to do. And I called Representative Rose to ask her, did you know that this was going on? She didn't. She said, Marsha, just let me get to my home from my office and I will get back with you. So we started on that end. We were making sure that they had spoken with their representatives. And I tell you, they had, and their representative nobody was responding. And so we then sounded the alarm. We asked them, we actually did what we do with anything. How do you all want to proceed with this? Because we've got to act on this and we've got to act hard. And so they gave us permission to then start to talk about their story. So we got we brought our communications team in. Our communications team talked with this family. We gathered this information, again, still gathering the information, making sure that we had the right information before we struck. And that's when we came together and organized this press conference. We organized the press conference in a matter of about 18 hours. We had press out. At the same time we were organizing the press conference, our communications team was hitting the social media, Twitter, Facebook, every social media that we could hit. We were running this. We ran this story live simultaneously. At the same time the press release was happening, we were releasing it live. And so we were just hitting everywhere. And that's what happened. I'm going to tell you, Black people did what I know Black people will do. When that story hit, Black people were livid. They started calling. I'm kind of like this old school person with this social media, and I hear people saying stuff like Black Twitter and all of that. Well, let me tell you something. I got my first experience with Black Twitter. Let me tell you. And so we realized the reason that people did this is because we know that this is their story also. And so many people were able to identify with this story, but also so many birth workers, Black birth workers were able to, and even white birth workers thought that this was insane because this type of jaundice is just very natural for babies. And so all of this information was being put on social media. We were constantly calling. We were on the phone with CPS. We were on the phone with the legislators.
Hold on a second, Marsha. What was CPS saying? Why?
They kept telling. They were like, we can't talk about it. We can't talk about it. We were like, but the problem here, y'all do realize that the name on this document is not this family's. So they didn't even correct.
Marsha, let's step back. We were talking about the document in the early part of the segment. How did you finally get the document? Because at first you said when they showed up at the house, the document they had no names on it.
No names.
All right. So now there's a document with some name, even though it's the wrong name. How did you get that document?
So we got that document. The family had, they'd gotten an attorney. And so that's how they got that document. And it's pretty much open records anyway. And so they were able to get that document. And that's when we start pushing. This is not the right name. This is not the right name. And it was just the responses that we were getting was like something I'd never heard before. Like one of the people we spoke with and but the family spoke with in Child Protective Services were like, well, we know the name is not right. That's not a big deal. We can fix the name later.
Okay.
I thought that if it's illegal, but anyway, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV.
Okay, but they were like, name no big deal.
It's not a big deal. And so we knew we had them right there, though, because every attorney that we spoke to said, look, this was supposed to stop right there. If the right name was not on that document, this document is not legal. So we were pushing all of the information that we were getting. Attorneys from everywhere started coming in, but this all happened because of social media, because they trusted our organization to hold their story. We didn't gatekeep their story, but we did hold their story because we knew that this family was not prepared to do all of these interviews. They wanted their child back. Right. The baby was not faring very well in Child Protective Services.
Hold on a second, Marsha. So I know you said when you were talking to them, they were like, we can't talk about it, we can't talk about it. But would they talk to the parents about where the child was being held?
They talked to the parents about what?
Where the child was at. Like, where was the child physically?
So the child, of course, because the child was with a foster family, they didn't have the physical address. So they would let them, they only could visit the baby 1 day a week for 2 hours, and that was at the Child Protective Service office. So at the state, at like a county office.
So this baby is 5 days old.
Yes,
baby
ma'am.
ain't even a week.
Not
in
even
the
a week.
home of some stranger, away from her mom. She's mom not able to nurse, not able to cuddle, not able to bond, all those important first moments in a stranger's house, home.
Yes.
And they have to go visit their own infant at some center for 2 hours.
Yes, while with people watching them, of course.
Oh my God, this had to be so traumatic for this young.
It was
these
very
people,
traumatic.
Young family. What I think I read the mom was about 38 or so.
Yes, young family, and I'm gonna tell you, it was so heart-wrenching. To even be able to move through this every day. They would come and sit with us, and we would work with them. I think one night we even invited her to come in and do yoga with us. It's like, come do yoga, just like the birth workers here at the AFIYAW Center are phenomenal. And they were able to really work with her, even, encouraging her to keep pumping, right. Just keep moving. But yeah,
what's Child Protective Service, Marsha, saying to the families about why they couldn't take the baby home? But they said we had to go through a court process.
They had to go to court. We've got to go to court. We're going to go to court. We have to go to court, and we have to determine if this baby can come home. Like, not even acknowledging that you all have the wrong people.
Wow. So when we come forward, Marsha, we'll talk about this whole court process. Was there an actual court hearing? What happened at that hearing? And again, what was the catalyst for CPS to let this child come home? Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
Gifted and black.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Connection established. Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Weekdays, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're not listening listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580. You're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis.
All right, Marsha, how long does this ordeal last?
So the ordeal lasts 3 weeks.
3 weeks. This baby, 5-day-old baby is out of her home, middle-class home, Black professional parents, good upstanding citizens, parents to 2 other children. So obviously they know how to parent a child because they're already parenting successfully 2 other kids. What happens in this 5 weeks, and what was the catalyst to bring this baby home?
So I believe it was definitely pressure from the community, because the pressure was going, like the pressure, once we put the pressure on, because they did go to court. No, let's stop. There was a hearing. I believe the hearing was, don't want to get my dates wrong, but I think the hearing was something like April the 4th or something like that. And so the hearing was online. It was supposed to start at 8:30. So all of the advocates and people are getting ready to get on. The Miss Jackson is on early because she don't want to miss it. They're talking about attorneys and they're talking about different things. And so Miss Jackson says, well, my attorney is trying to get on now. The judge responds, what attorney? I didn't know that you had an attorney. I had already, there was already court-appointed attorneys or something to that nature. Miss Jackson was then kicked off the phone. She came back on, and within like 3 or 4 minutes, and this is like maybe 5 minutes before 8:30, the judge comes on and says, we're going to reschedule the case. We're going to reschedule this to the 20th of April. Like, how do you counsel court before court even starts? And so then later on, the judge, they're asking for an emergency hearing. Right. The judge denies the emergency hearing. She says, well, we've already had a hearing and I've already heard everything I need to hear. No, we absolutely did not have a hearing. You counseled it 5 minutes before it was supposed to start. And so there was really no due process has happened here. So there really was not a hearing. And so the hearing was supposed to be the 20th, and the baby, of course, was released the day before the hearing. But once that happened, we asked the family again. We were kind of like stepping back a little bit because we didn't want to put too much pressure because they do have your baby. So the family said, yeah, put the pressure on. We want our baby home. So we had people coming from everywhere. We was putting the pressure everywhere. We did a rally at the courthouse, at the Child Protective Services on the day that they went to see, one of the days that they went to see their baby, just to let them see this support and to let the CPS know that we're not backing up off of this. Right. And so I believe that it definitely was the pressure. So the district attorney says that we're kind of like up and down as to what happened. So there's one story where we get that the district attorney's office called the Jacksons and said, we're going to drop this case, come and get your baby. Then it's like the district attorney called back and said, no, I didn't call you all. Well, we know you yourself, John Crusoe, didn't call, but somebody in your office. It's neither here nor there. It was your decision as the DA to drop this case, and it was dropped. It should have been dropped before then, but it wasn't. So I believe it was the direct pressure from the community. I believe it was the calling for this judge seat. We even went so far to reach out to her fraternity. She's what is it, a D9, a D12? I don't know what
Divine
is
Divine Nine.
The Divine Nine. We even reached out. We were like, that's your sister sitting on the bench. Can you talk to her? You know, like we were pulling all the punches. We were calling other judges. We were like, election is coming up, you know, like we're not gonna stop. You know, we even called our own state legislator, the newly elected Representative Jasmine Crockett. We called her. You know, it's like, yeah, we're not like that's to the level that we took this. We literally did not stop. We were calling every step. We were going higher and higher.
So, Marsha, what was the case? Was the case that they were refusing to provide adequate medical care? Like, what were they saying the family was doing that created a danger to the child?
That was it. That they said that the family refused to provide adequate, kind of like medical care to the baby, but the family never refused. Mm-hmm. Never refused.
Well, this story has a very, very happy ending. I know you told me that you had an opportunity to see. Is baby Mila, right?
Yes, baby Mila.
That baby Mila was in your office. So tell us about baby Mila. Let's end this segment on something positive.
Oh my. So I thought I was going to miss her because they texted me. I was trying to get my nails done. And they said, well, the family is coming up today and they just want to like, thank you. Because once they got the baby, we stepped back. We wanted them to be able to do that. And so we get here and I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm already like a great grandmother anyway. So it's like all the Googles and Gagas and she's talking, like she's looking at us and following. And then we go to the other side and let the rest of the staff know that baby Mila is here and everybody is coming over. And we just feel like one big family. And to see the look on this family's face, the dad is standing there, Roger, and he's just standing there so proud. Like this is, I get to be a girl's dad, you know, because he wanted a girl so bad. And the mother is sitting there, you know, and she's just so overjoyed. But here's the thing, they are so overjoyed to have that baby, but they are still in the fight. Because they don't want to see this, they don't want to see this ever happen again to another family. So while they are happy to have baby Mila home with them, and they're so excited, they want the world to know that they're still in the fight. They're not walking away just because they got Mila back. The dad has said that even at one of the press conferences, he said, we're not going to stop here. He said, because what we see every time we came to see our baby was countless of families. And he said, black, white, whoever, sitting in this space with their children taken from them. And we don't know if it was just or unjust because our baby was unjustly taken from us and somebody else's baby could have been too. He said, so we're still in the fight. We're not going anywhere. We're going to fight that this don't keep happening to other babies and other families.
Yeah, and I know, Marsha, one of the articles that I read, as you said, the media outcry on this was amazing in the way that you all were able to galvanize the media. So kudos to you as an advocate in your organization, because we know that's how you get the attention oftentimes of elected officials, of our judicial system. You need that kind of media pressure. So important. One of the articles I read about the story, you said you believe it was systemic racism. Explain what you mean by that.
Definitely believe it's systemic racism because we know that black children are taken from families at a much higher rate than any other families. We know that black mothers are denied the right to parent their children on very small things. Most of the time, it is not even a thing that they've done so horribly wrong. It may be just the fact that they don't have enough money to be able to provide some of the things that the system said that they're supposed to provide, where the system is prepared to give money to somebody to take my child, but not prepared to give me the resources to take care of my child. And so all you have to do is go and look at the data that show the number of black children that are removed from their homes with absolutely no due process. And the numbers do not match. It's like when we talk about maternal mortality, it is definitely racism. It is definitely because we are black that we are allowed to die. So it is definitely because we are black that we are denied the opportunity to parent in a way that we know how to parent that is absolutely nourishing for our children. Yes, there are instances across the board where some bad decisions have been made for children, and let's be what we need for those children, but don't be so quick to just remove black children from black homes, and it's just done at too high of a rate. And child protective services everywhere are a mess. And again, like I said, there's no due process done here.
No, you raised such a great point, and you're right. It's well documented that black children are disproportionately represented in foster care systems around this country. And all too often, they're in those systems, not because there was neglect and abuse in the home, but because the system is set up in a way that it does not honor or recognize the cultural norms, the differences that black parents often have in terms of raising children. And yes, we need CPS to be there when kids are in crisis and when families are in crisis. and you need some temporary help to get a child in a safe space. But all too often, as you also said, Marsha, Black children are taken away from families in situations that are absolutely illegal and unjustified. And I can't think of a better example of that than this case, this middle-class, hardworking family, loving family, mother and father of 2 children, to have their 5-day-old daughter taken away from them when they were not refusing, as you said, medical care, but just seemingly a simple misunderstanding that could have been cleared up. But what this tells us is once your child is in the system, it is not easy getting a child out of the system. This took, as you said, almost 5 weeks for something that should have taken, at best should have taken overnight. This child should have been reunited with her parents. Thank God for the AFIYAW center in Texas. Thank God for reproductive health centers, because you all serve such an important and critical need in communities around this country. I'm so grateful to you for the advocacy on this case and so many other cases. You've been on the front line. You and I've been at this for a while now, talking about the battles that you have been engaged in, making sure that Black women in particular have reproductive freedoms and rights. So I'm so grateful to you, and thanks for joining me. And we'll keep up with baby Mila as she is home with her family.
We're gonna hear about baby Mila for a long time coming.
Wonderful, wonderful. Again, thank you, Marsha, for joining me. The next voice that you hear is Robin Ayers and the Raw Report right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Here comes the brand new flavor in your head.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4, only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head.
Is the pen mightier than the sword?
The